Hey guys, we've got yet another video for section 4, chapter 3 of our book, and we're going to talk about how do I graph a line in standard form, which is not something we've really talked about in the previous videos, so something a little bit new here. So we're really working on lines and linear line, talking about linearity and how to make a table, a graph, a pattern, and write the equation. And you should know there's different ways of writing the equation. So here's a really good example right here, y equals 5x plus 2. I already know that that's a line if I was to graph it because I see y equals mx plus b. Like my algebra brain kind of gets trained to see that. So, oh yeah, there's the mx plus b. I can see it. I can even give it a name. It's called the slope-intercept form. That's what we call y equals mx plus b. So when you get into your high school classes and teachers are telling you to graph a line, they're probably not going to say graph y equals mx plus b. They're probably going to say graph the slope-intercept form. And the way we get that name is pretty straightforward. Mx, the m is the slope, and the plus b is your y-intercept. So slope-intercept form gives you the slope and the intercept. This is a really good form for graphing. When you can find that mx plus b real quickly, graphing becomes quite a breeze. But there is another way of writing an equation of a line. Here's an example of another line. Even though it might not look like it to you right away, it is. And it's 4x plus 2y equals negative 8. Now it's not in y equals mx plus b form. It's not going to be an easy breeze to graph this one. It'll be a little more challenging to make the graph and table. But I do know it's a line because it's in what we call standard form. And standard form personally is not my favorite form. I do not like it that much, but it's important that we know it. And the way the form works is kind of straightforward. It's ax plus by equals c. You should write that down. Ax plus by equals c is standard form of a line. Now the ABCs, which I put in purple here, they're not variables. They're not ABCs. They're actually numbers. So for instance, 4x, that's your ax, plus 2y, that's your by, equals negative 8, that's your c. So your ABCs are any numbers that happen to be fitting the situation. Ax plus by equals c. In standard form, like I said, I really don't like standard form. I don't find it useful very quickly. There's some situations where it can be okay, but I like slope-intercept way better. But we got to know both because real-world situations aren't going to give us our favorite form of a line every single time, unfortunately. So we have slope-intercept form and we have standard form. And there's actually more that we're going to learn about, but not in this video. So today I want to practice graphing, and we're going to start with standard form practice. So here is the standard form of a line. 6x minus 2y equals 8. 6x minus 2y equals 8. Now I see that it's a line because I see ax plus by equals c, but I don't know how to graph it. I don't know the slope. I don't know the rise and run. I don't know the y-intercept. I don't know the plus b. I'm pretty clueless at the moment. So our job is to change it to slope-intercept form. Put it in the form that we like. Put a line down the middle, and at the very bottom put y equals. Make it look like y equals mx plus b so it's easy to work with. So I'm going to keep the y on the left-hand side and everything else is moving over. So I'm going to take that 6x away, move it to the other side, make it a negative 6x. Then I have minus 2y equals the negative 6x and the 8. So I'm writing negative 6x plus 8. Then I'm going to divide the negative 2 away from the y to get rid of it, and I'll divide everything by negative 2 to get rid of it. And then I'm going to have negative 6 divided by negative 2, which is a positive 3x, plus 8 divided by negative 2 would be a negative 4. So we've got our slope-intercept form, y equals 3x minus 4. So much better for graphing. Now I know m is my slope, which is 3, and my y-intercept, my b value, is negative 4. Those are right away clear to me. So now our next job is to grab a ruler and sketch the graph of this. And I could make a table, I could draw a pattern, I could do a lot more, but right now I just want to go right to the graph. So set up an XY axis in your notes and make it nice and neat with scale numbers. Never forget those scale numbers, you know how important that is. And let's start this graph with our y-intercept at negative 4. So our first point on the graph is going to go way down on the y-axis at -4. And our slope, our growth number is 3. So that means we're going to count up 1, 2, 3 over 1 and get that next point. And we're going to count from there up 1, 2, 3 over 1 to get that next point. So we're going up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1. That's that growth number. And then we're going to connect it with a line. And we got our graph. Now, there's some things I kind of want to add to my graph just to show other people that I know what I'm talking about and that I get this. So I'm going to circle my y-intercept down here, and I'm going to label it y-intercept. I'm also going to throw a growth triangle on there because we know how to do that now. I'll zoom in so you can see it a little closer. But I'm going to make that triangle. Watch as I make the triangle. I'm just going to take 2 of the points, put them together, and label the rise and run. And the rise looks like it goes up 1, 2, 3. That makes sense. It was 3 for the growth, and a run of 1. So it's 3 and 1. That's our rise and run. But then I'm feeling pretty good. Like our graph's looking pretty nice. We got the y-intercept, we got the growth triangle, we've changed it to slope-intercept form so we could actually do the graphing, and we're kind of set. Okay, your turn. I'm going to have you try. I'm going to give you an equation in standard form. Here it is. 3y plus 6x equals -12. And I'd like you to change it to slope-intercept so you can graph it. So this is the time where you got to hit that pause button on the video, start working, and then unpause it to see if you really got the hang of this already. Okay, so you are unpausing the video and you're ready to check your answer. You've put a line down the middle, I hope, and you've gotten y all by itself. So take that 6x away to the other side, make it 3y equals -6x minus 12, and then divide that 3 away from everything. And the 6 divided by 3 will give you a -2x, and the 12 divided by 3 will give you a -4. So you're going to get this y equals -2x minus 4, which I hope is what you got also. If not, go back through your work, figure out where the mistake is, what went wrong. Here's your y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to label my m value as -2 and my b value as -4, and hopefully you were able to graph it. Let's do this one. Let's try one together that has a fraction involved. So we're going to graph 1/3 x plus y equals 2. 1/3 x plus y equals 2. A lot of people get fractions in there and then they get kind of like stuck on the fraction, but this one's really not that bad if you think about it. Remember, we want to get y by itself. So really it's just the 1/3 x has to move over. That's really all we got to do is take it to the other side. So our y equals is going to have a -1/3 x and then this 2. So y equals -1/3 x plus 2. And now graphing is actually, even though it's got a fraction, it's really not going to be a big deal. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to label our m and b. So m is equal to -1/3. That's the growth number, the slope. And b is equal to 2. And we're going to grab a ruler and we're going to set up a nice xy axis and we're going to plot these points and see what it looks like. So you know to pause the video if I'm going fast, but I'm going to jump right to this. So b is equal to 2, which means on my graph I have to start at 2 as my y-intercept. My slope is -1/3. Negative means I'm going down 1 over 3. That 1/3 down 1 over 3. So I'm going to count down 1, and then I'm going to count over 3. 1, 2, 3, and put a point. I'm going to go again down 1 over 1, 2, 3, and put a point. And I could keep doing that, down 1 over 3, down 1 over 3, until you run out of space or you like get tired of it. So connect your points, make your line, circle and label that y-intercept. I think that's super important, so I'm going to label that. Put a growth triangle on there somewhere. I'm going to pick the 2 bottom points just because it seems kind of easy to connect these together and make that triangle. And then label it with the down 1, so -1 over 3. And there's our labels, and we're done. Now, this is not the only way to graph standard form. There's another way. If you don't want to rearrange the whole thing to y equals mx plus b, you have a second option. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So put your pencil down for this part of the video. I don't want you to write down this next section. I just want you to kind of listen and see. So I'm going to show you a graph that I've made up here. And you're not writing this down, you're just watching. But this graph, it's a pretty standard line. And it's got 2 points on it that stand out to me. One of them is the y-intercept, but the other one's called the x-intercept because it intercepts the x-axis. And those 2 points are pretty important. The x-intercept is happening at x equals 2, and the y-intercept is happening at y equals -4. But if I was to write that as a coordinate point, it would be 2, 0 for the x-intercept and 0, -4 for the y-intercept. And why am I showing you this? Well, because it's really kind of interesting to see that the x-intercept is happening when the y is equal to 0. And the y-intercept is happening when the x is equal to 0. It's kind of the opposite. So pick up your pencil and let's write this part down right here. X-intercepts happen when y is equal to 0. You should write that down. And y-intercepts happen when x is equal to 0. They're opposites. Now, why is that important? Why am I showing you all this? Because we're going to do another example, example 3, and we're going to graph a standard form, but we're not changing it to y equals mx plus b. So here's what we're going to graph. We are going to graph -5x plus 5y equals 10. -5x plus 5y equals 10. But we're going to do it by finding the intercepts. So no moving it around. So here's my plan. For my notes, I'm going to separate this space into 2 sections, a spot to do the x-intercept work and a spot to do the y-intercept work. And you can pick whichever one you want to start on first. I'm probably going to start with the x-intercept just because it's easy. But to find the x-intercept, the y has to equal 0, remember? So here's what we do. We take the equation, -5x plus 5y equals 10, and where the y is, we change it to 0, because that's what it's supposed to equal. Y is supposed to equal 0. So now we have -5x plus 5 times 0 equals 10. Let's clean that up and solve for x. 5 times 0 is just 0. So really it's just -5x equals 10. Divide that -5 away. 10 divided by -5 is a -2. We've got our x-intercept. It's happening at x equals -2. So the x-intercept is at -2, 0. All right, now let's do the y-intercept. Same thing, copy down the equation. -5x plus 5y equals 10. But this time, the y-intercept happens when x is equal to 0. So we're going to put a 0 where the x is this time, and then we're going to clean it up and solve. So instead of -5x, it's -5 times 0 plus 5y equals 10. Now -5 times 0 goes away, it's just 0. So 5y equals 10. Divide the 5, y is equal to 2. 10 divided by 5 is 2. So our y-intercept's happening at 2, so we could say 0, 2. X is equal to 0, y is equal to 2. Now, I haven't done anything else, but with just those 2 points, I can easily make a graph now. I'm going to grab a ruler and set up this xy axis, just like I've been doing in the last couple problems. But now when I go to graph, I'm not going to do my slope and my usual rise and run. I'm going to do my x and y intercept, which we already figured out is at -2, 0 and 0, 2. So go to the graph and put those 2 points on there. -2, 0 would be like right there. And 0, 2 would be like right there. We're going to, oh yeah, I'll label it 0, 2. That's my x and that's my y intercept. With only those 2 points, I already know what the line looks like. It looks like this. So that's another way you can graph standard form. You can skip the y equals mx plus b if you want to find the x and y intercepts. But you kind of have to choose. So it's kind of a choice on which strategy you want to use. And I'll label on my graph the equation of this line. I'll just leave it in standard form on my graph. Okay, so final wrap-up notes here to write down. How do I graph a line in standard form? You got 2 options. 1, change it to slope-intercept and do what you already know how to do. Y equals mx plus b. Some people, this is the way they want to do every problem, and that's totally fine if that's the way that works best for you. Second way, find the x and y intercepts. Plot them on a graph and connect them. Put the 0 in for y, put the 0 in for x, and find those intercepts. Both strategies work. Okay guys, well, I hope that helped, and I hope you're able to kind of follow those notes a little bit. If it went too fast, go back and watch it again. You really want to make sure like you have this down, and we will practice in class. See you later.